Welcome back, everyone, to the Working Class Revolt. And there's an interesting topic going on at the moment, and it is the mainstream media and the political establishment saying that the Reform Party could not turn back illegal boats because the Navy will refuse to do it. Now, before we go into this and tell you why this is rubbish, please can I ask you to like, share, and subscribe, and hopefully we can get this channel out to more and more people and give an alternative view than what we get through the mainstream media. So it is correct, the attacks that are being given on reform when they're quoting the incident that happened in 2021. In 2021, under a Boris Johnson government, the government was thinking about doing a pushback tactic, just like Reform said, stop the illegal boats, push them back to where they came from. And there was one boat in particular where the order, it seems, came from government to the Royal Navy to push the boat back, and the Royal Navy refused. And not only did they refuse, they went one step further. They put out a statement saying that they would not use these pushback tactics at all, basically saying there is no way you can turn these boats around. And the reasons that they gave were international law. They claimed it was against international law. We know that is not the case. International law allows you to protect your borders and so many miles off the coast to turn boats around from anything invading your country. They then went on to quote that France's policy is not to intercept migrant boats unless migrants ask to be rescued. They said passenger safety, and they also said the Navy's ethnics do not support pushback tactics. The Navy's role is to respond to mayday calls, save lives, and help tackle crisis at sea. Now, what's ironic about that? Crisis at sea. Of course, it's a crisis at sea. Help save lives. They would be helping the migrants, and a mayday call is having millions of people coming over here illegally, not an invasion of some kind. Now, I'm not claiming that all the people coming over on the boats are going to cause trouble, but we are seeing a lot of trouble. So the Navy used them arguments to get out of it. Now, it was embarrassing for the government at the time, and the mainstream media didn't really push this narrative too much. But now that Farage and the Reform Party are getting so much support, especially with this policy of pushing back the boats, the mainstream media have relit this argument and are attacking the Reform Party. They're saying to the MPs, they're saying to Farage, how would you push back the boats? And when the Reform Party say, we would use the Royal Navy, they quote this story and say, unbelievably say, as if it's normal, what if the Royal Navy refuse? Now, on this, how does a part of the army or armed forces or a part of the public sector like the police, the fire brigade, the NHS be in a position to refuse an instruction by our elected government of the day? All of these departments come under His Majesty and they come under the government. So I do believe this statement was made. I think it was smoke and mirrors to give the government a way out. I think it was planned behind the scenes. Let the Navy take the rap for it, and the government can claim we can't do anything and nobody's going to be able to do anything going forward. However, let's imagine you have a Donald Trump style leader in, like Nigel Farage as Prime Minister, and he tells the Navy that you will turn back the boats and push them back, and the Navy try to refuse. Well, then people are going to lose the jobs like we've seen in America. Donald Trump sacks generals when they don't have America's best interest. The media that would be all around a standoff between the army, or the Navy in this instance, and the Prime Minister and government would be such bad press that they would back down. But again, we don't have governments in position previously or currently that will stand up to what's probably a left wing socialist in charge of the army, which is a worrying point on its own. Now, this whole argument about pushing back the boats and people's safety, in my opinion, it's much safer to push people back. And this argument that you may be fleeing from persecution, you may be a Christian in a Muslim country, let's not forget, France is a safe country. You're not going to be in any trouble in France. So although I don't necessarily blame the migrants coming over here with how soft we are on benefits, let's call a spade for a spade. And I think it's unbelievable that our armed forces would dare to try and not do what's in our best interest and ignore a direct instruction. It'd be interesting to see what the actual instruction was for Boris Johnson, or was this just a quiet phone call where the Royal Navy gave some concerns and that was it, and everyone just friendly agreed, so nothing had to be done. The establishment, the mainstream parties want mass immigration, legal or illegal. If the Conservatives didn't want it and they really wanted to get it down to tens of thousands, as David Cameron said, they would have done it. They would have got the numbers down. But instead, we've seen it increase and increase. And that's why, in my opinion, the only party that will do anything about this is the Reform UK Party. So I want to talk again today about another subject that's come up over the last week following a documentary about the royal family. And this is to do with King Charles and Prince William. And so for once, it's not about Prince Andrew or Prince Harry. And it's about the amount of money that these individuals are making from the taxpayer. Now, I'm going to do a whole separate video quoting and giving you the links to look into this yourself. But just as an overview, what the royal family are doing, in particular those two, they are using their estate where they own all these different pieces of land, and then they are leasing it to government public bodies for millions and millions of pounds a year. Now, some people might say, well, that's what a private company can do, but there's a big difference. The royal family's estate does not pay tax like any other business does. Let's be honest, is it really privately owned by the royal family? The royal family is the royal family for the whole of the UK. Surely anything that is owned by the royal family should be classed as public land. Yes, it's for the royal family to live in and reside in, but surely it's not owned like it's a private company. And why, if they have all this land so spare and they don't need to do anything with it, why is it not going back to the public? Why is it being used to be leased to our government bodies, people like the Ministry of Defence and the NHS, just to name a couple of contracts that they have done? So they do a contract with the NHS, they say we have this amount of land, it's so many millions of pounds a year. Our tax money that funds the royal family then pays for this contract. And the royal family, who are paid as well, let's not forget, out the public purse anyway, are making millions and millions more by renting out what should be public land. And I think this is one place where the left and right should be able to agree. Now, historically, people more on the right are for the royal family, some people more on the left are not for the royal family. I'm very in between. I like the idea of the royal family, but I like the idea of a royal family that's not corrupt. And if all our royal families are corrupt, or even worse in some instances than just being corrupt, you know what I'm on about. I would rather us not have a royal family. So, the royal family, is it time that we abolish the royal family, or is it time that we reform the royal family? I think when Queen Elizabeth was here, there was an amount of respect from both sides, but I'm beginning to feel now, with everything what's gone on with Prince Andrew and Prince Harry and Prince Charles as king, and with this story just breaking, that this might be the one occasion where the two most establishment people, the right wing and the left wing, may come together to call out the royal family. But please let me know what you think. Do you think this is wrong and it's time that we reform or abolish the royal family? And what do you think about a reform government? Would it be able to force the Royal Navy to push the boats back? And finally, I just want to say a Merry Christmas to everybody, and I'll see you on the next video.